So the previous summer, I went on walks like for the majority of the week. So I went on a single walk like probably like 4 or 5 times of the week. And I would always go to this one specific place because I found there was value and also just general attractiveness to that place. Now that may speak to who I am as a person or what I like, but I do think that this place has lots of value that people overlook due to superstition or just general fears. And this place is the cemetery, right? When you think about a cemetery, you think about lots of tombstones, you think about death, you think about ghosts, Halloween possibly, right? You think about these creepy things. And yet that detracts from the real value of a cemetery. And I say value because cemeteries are valuable. For one, it costs a shit ton of money to actually get a tombstone, and it costs a lot actually, which is really surprising given that it's basically just a piece of stone and you're in a casket and you're 6 feet below the ground. But it's surprisingly very expensive. But there's more value to it than just the monetary value. And for one, most cemeteries have lots of nature. When you go to a cemetery, it usually has lots of trees, it usually has lots of plants, and also small animals. It's very naturey. And if you're in a place where there's limited nature, big cities, cemeteries are very valuable in that sense. And personally, I found that cemeteries are my go-to, one, because of the nature, because there's just so many trees around. And the thing with being in nature is that nature can't judge you. When you're out in public, there's always going to be this sense of you're thinking about what other people are going to be thinking about you. You're thinking about how other people are observing you and judging you, right? It doesn't matter if they are or are not. You have this sense, and it's called the looking glass theory, right? It's something in psychology. You can just look it up, but it's basically you think about how other people think about you, right? Simple. And when you're out in nature, there is no one else there unless you're in a place of nature where there are people there. But if you're alone in nature, nothing is judging you. Nature doesn't care if you just bulge your eyes out for an hour, 2 minutes before going on a walk into nature. It doesn't care. Nature doesn't care about your failures. It doesn't judge you for anything. You're just there with nature, right? And that's why I think it's the best place to reflect, because you can't reflect when you're constantly thinking about other people and how they judge you, right? You need a place that is safe, in a sense. You need a place where you are able to not be so focused on other people and their judgments of you, and instead to introspect, to think, to use that brain power to think about concepts and ideas that perhaps you never thought about. And that's why I chose the cemetery, because cemetery is an environment where it allows you to think about one specific thing, and you probably can guess. It's death. And the thing is, when we're young, we don't think about death, because why would we think about it? We're young, we're springy, we can recover just like that. We're full of energy. We have so much of our lives to go, to live. We've just begun to live. And so why would we think about death, right? But I think it's very important that we do, because it allows us to live that much better. Because without death, there is no significance to life. If you couldn't die, if you were immortal, right, let's just say that, boom, you were immortal. Why would you do anything? Why would you get out of bed to do anything? Why would you live your life to the fullest when you know that tomorrow you can do it? There is a psychological law called Parkinson's law, and it basically states that work expands to take up the time given to complete it. It's why you can finish an essay in a day when you're given 2 weeks to do it. You don't even look at it for like a week. Maybe you look at it after a week, and then you actually start working on it the day before it's due, right? And then you finish it. That's Parkinson's law. And if you were to use that for productivity, right? Instead, if you were to give yourself 5 days to complete it, you would complete it within those 5 days. And if you were to give yourself 1 day to complete it, you would probably complete it in 1 day. Going back to life without death, without an end point, you're not going to get anything done. You're never going to get things done because you have all the time in the world to do so. And so you won't be motivated to get things done. And in addition, an immortal society probably wouldn't take as many risks. Why? Because there's so much comfort now. Death is the universal equalizer. No one can escape death, and everyone fears it. Death is the reason why people can take risks, because if everyone's gonna die, right? You might as well do things. You might as well take risks in order for better gains, for a better life. But when you can't die, why would you take risks? There's no urgency to your life. You can always do it the next time. There's always a next time. And so paradoxically, there is no life, at least a life with meaning, without death. It's the whole concept behind having balance, You can't have one without the other. You have to have both in order for either one to have meaning. And so I'm telling you to go take a walk in the cemetery so that you can reflect specifically on death and how that makes your life so insignificant. In a way that the things you do don't matter. The embarrassment that you feel doesn't matter. Because even if anyone remembers, right? No one's going to remember you within 200 years. So why do you care about that embarrassment? I tell you to reflect on death so that you can take more risks, so that you can live to your life's potential, so that you can do the things that you actually want to do, so that you can finally quit that 9-to-5 job that you don't like, that you absolutely despise, so that you can ask the girl out, so that you can finally start that business, so that you can take those risks, so that you can do all of these things that you've been hesitating to do because you're afraid of the wrong things, or rather you're afraid of a smaller thing. Because your fear of failure is not nearly as big as death. Death is universal. It will come for you. No matter what you do. It will come for you no matter, even if you don't ask that girl out, if you don't start the business, if you even live an extremely unhappy life, death will still come for you. Death doesn't give two shits about how you lived your life. But you should care. Right? You should care about how to live your life because it's your life. And certainly, I think we would all agree that living a good life is better than living a worse life. So use death. Use this time in the cemetery to reflect, to think about all the things that you would have done had there been no judgment, had you not feared other people's judgments. Use this time to think about what you actually want to achieve in your life. And become that person that you want to be.